Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. I'm Father Malone, and beside me, in white face paint. That's right, in order to go goth, a black pug needs the Krylon white, liberally applied. This tiny goth sitting next to me is Ripley. Say hi to the folks, Rip. That's the great thing about that song. It'll never not be true. Bela Lugosi is dead. She's gothed up. I'm quoting Bauhaus. Could it be? Oh, God, no. It's a themed episode. Run. Or stick around. Or actually, you should perch. On a tombstone. On a power line. On a muscly shoulder. That's right. You've been chosen to be a crow. The satellite of love needs you. No, not that crow. We're talking about the comic, we're talking about the 1994 flick, and we're talking about the newly released remake, reimagining, adaptation that's in theaters now. It's got Pennywise, horror fiends. This is a series of films and its inspiration that are positively drenched in tragedy. The Crow started out as a comic series on the Caliber label. They were all written and drawn by the excellently named James O'Barr. Not so excellent was the inspiration. The Crow was born out of O'Barr's grief and rage following his fiance's death by a drunk driver. But he didn't take that misery and paint sunflowers like Van Gogh. Van Gogh? Van Gogh? I don't know. Anyway, he didn't do that. He created an undead avenger and a psychopomp who guides him. Now look, we all love the Brandon Lee film. There's something wrong with you if you don't like that film. And we'll get there. But as a comic book reader, let's take a look at the source material. I find little things like antecedents to be important, especially when there seems to be a whole fan base who've decided anything other than that Brandon Lee movie simply will not do when it comes to interpreting these comics. And we're going to get there, too. The comic was a 4-issue series, came out in 1989. And it is about an auto mechanic, not a musician, named Eric, no last name. He returns from the dead a year later, we're told, and he immediately sets out hunting down criminals, pumping them for information, and then dispatching them in brutal and not really outlandish at all ways. It's the plot of every iteration of The Crow, even in the movies and in the comic books. But the differences between the 94 film and the first comic series are wild. The plot's the same, it's Detroit, the villains are the same, although they've swapped Top Dollar and T-Bird in the film. But these are street thugs. They are barely above a gang. There's nothing grand going on in here. There's no plot to evict tenants that make Eric and Shelley a target. There's no club where they don't have to take you away. No, they don't have to take you away. Albrecht is 2 cops. Sarah, the little girl who narrates the film, she's in 1 scene in the comic. You know how a movie is usually like a stripped-to-the-bone version of a novel? The comic is like a stripped-to-the-bone version of the movie. And it's told in this maddening flashback structure where it isn't revealed until the end that Eric and Shelley's car breaks down and they're happened upon by T-Bird's gang. It's all totally random. Also, the Crow in the comic is not the source of his power. It's nothing but a guide. It, in fact, speaks to him, something none of the films have ever attempted, which is weird because every film ends up employing a narrator or some sort of audience proxy so we can find our way through that universe. If only the original comic had a solution to that. But which character in The Crow could be counted on for that sort of thing? Oh, yeah, and in the comic, The Crow, like I said, he can talk to Eric, and he's kind of a dick. He's constantly chiding him that he's wasting time with his memories of Shelley. Oh, it's a fun relationship. And, at the end, there's no fanciful supernatural twist when it comes to dispatching T-Bird. Eric doesn't pour the pain that Shelley endured for 36 hours in intensive care into the villain. In the book, Shelley dies on the scene, and it's Eric who clings to life before dying and joining her. Here, the finale is T-Bird crashes his car trying to elude Eric, and then Eric walks up with a hammer and bashes his skull in. It's that kind of comic. It is a less nuanced Punisher. If I'm being totally honest about the comic books, it's the later stuff that I found interesting. That's when the Crow would assume many different forms. It's not just Eric, it's different figures through history. Like there's a cowboy who is resurrected after 100 years to settle up with the descendants of his murderers. That one's actually my favorite. But the entire series is hamstrung by its premise because it's always revenge. It's always the Crow leads somebody back to murder the people who murdered him, basically. Though I will say, O'Barr became a lot more adept with his artwork as the comic continued. I loved how grubby the first run of it was when I read it, but I'm glad he's improved. It is an angry book, and I hope it helped Mr. O'Barr exercise some of his demons. Me, I loved those books. As did cyberpunk author John Shirley and producer Jeff Most, who were the ones who wrote the initial drafts of the script for The Crow together, though only Shirley is credited due to a WGA rule against producers taking a credit. That's a pre-1995 rule. No producer can take a writing credit. Weird. Their script would be rewritten by splatterpunk author David Scow, who brought the supernatural more to the forefront and sharpened a lot of the dialogue. And that pretty much brings us to 1994, starring Brandon Lee, The Crow.
People once believed that when a soul can't rest, a crow can carry it back from the dead to seek justice and put the wrong things right. Friday, May 13th.
Not a good day to be a bad guy.
Brandon Lee.
I love you.
The Crow, rated R.
Now, the name that screams to mind when talking about The Crow is Brandon Lee, which is only appropriate. His death was a preventable tragedy that seems somehow to keep happening. Nevertheless, this is his film. But I would argue there are a couple of other names you ought to be considering. Alex Proyas, Alex McDowell, Ariane Phillips, and Jolene Cherry. Because those four, look, a lot of other people worked on the movie, no film is made in a vacuum, but those four are responsible not only for your continued love of The Crow, but I dare say that the current state of goth culture begins with these four. I know Lydia Dietz and Tim Burton are obviously huge accomplices in the subcultural explosion, but Alex Proyas, the director, Alex McDowell, the production designer, Ariane Phillips, costume designer, and Jolene Cherry, the music supervisor, these four, those sets, those models, those outfits, that look, those sounds. Proyas turns this film into a comic book in ways the comic book couldn't. Detroit in The Crow is a dream world. It's burned out architecture, burning architecture. Every street is wet, every shadow is heavy, everything is big, outsized, the crimes, the criminals. Oh, and such criminals. I knew I was going to like this movie once a Caesar-cutted, cigar-chomping David Patrick Kelly showed up, but I knew I was going to love the movie when Michael Wincott in a Crystal Gale wig arrived. Good Lord. They say your hero is only as good as your villains. Our hero ought to be fucking awesome. And he is. In the comic, Eric is just unable to die. He has no special skill beyond that. Eric Draven is a martial arts zombie, and watching Brandon Lee decimate rooms full of goons is breathtaking. Brandon Lee jumping from rooftop to rooftop is breathtaking. Hell, Brandon Lee laying in a dumpster in the rain is breathtaking. It's a goddamn shame. But, goddammit, the performance and this film continue to live on. In 1994, when this movie came out, I was living in Los Angeles. I saw it opening night in Westwood, California at the Mann National. They tore that theater down in 2008, which is a drag. It was a massive one screen with 1,100 seats. Beautiful. I saw Bram Stoker's Dracula there, opening day, first show. Anyway, I'm waiting in the queue, and there's a protester moving down the line of moviegoers, handing out flyers, telling us how horrible we were for supporting the murderers of Brandon Lee. And I said to the guy, I've seen interviews with Brandon Lee about this film, and he was fucking stoked. And you'd prefer no one ever to see it? This film he literally died making, this testament. I shouldn't go in there and honor him. He just moved away. I wonder sometimes if that was the right thing to say, or if I was complicit in supporting an industry that is too cavalier with its workers' safety. I don't know. My other brush with The Crow involved the soundtrack. I'm not talking about that phenomenal fucking mixtape that became everyone's soundtrack the summer of 1994. No, I'm talking about the score by Graham Revell. My friend Ramon was a sound engineer, and it was his job to burn the final master for the CD score for the film. It came in these chlorophyll discs, these CDs that were all green from chlorophyll, and you got to watch the laser burn it in. It was amazing, actually. In order to do this mastering, whatever the hell they were doing, you'd have to actually sit and listen to the tracks in real time. He invited me to go listen, and goddamn, what an experience. That score has some high melodrama in spots, but the Middle Eastern strings and percussion are sweet, and the darker portions of it are pretty remarkable. Speaking of remarkable, I mentioned the cast. There's a lot of great performances here, but I'm going to mention him again. David Patrick Kelly. He plays T-Bird in the movie. I'm talking about him again because there are simply not enough performances by this man. Here he is in the film.
What? What are you talking about? No. You mean that place downtown? Yeah, I remember her. We needed to put some fear into that little lady. She wasn't going along with our tenor.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies. Inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
The relocation program. The idiot boyfriend shows up and turns a simple sweep and clear into a total clusterfuck. Who gives a shit? It's ancient history. Why? What do you want? What is it? What? Speak to me. Speak!
Though keen-eyed viewers will recognize him from The Warriors. How about Commando?
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
He's also my favorite part of Twin Peaks and Twin Peaks The Return. Go get your own clip. Anyway, I just wanted to say David Patrick Kelly is awesome. I also wanted to remind you that your kids are all goths because of The Crow. Those are two different thoughts, but they're both true. Are you ready to move on? Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's right. The other thing I wanted to mention was the model work in The Crow. It is practical and it is spectacular. There is an entire car chase in this film that I'll say is, 85% models. It's amazing. Less so are all the dodgy composite shots. I'm not even talking about the wildly sketchy and wildly unnecessary shots of Brandon Lee that they've inserted into the loft scene when he's returning from the opening. I'm talking about all the fire effects on Devil's Night. Oh, man. I'm talking about that horrible shot of Skank falling out of the club. I'd say they didn't age well, but I was there and I saw them on the big screen, and they were unacceptable then. But everything else was so goddamn cool that you didn't care. I care now, but the practical stuff is still so disarming. It's like Wes Anderson's The Crow. Oh, we can move on now? Okay, cool. So let's go. Ready? The Crow, City of Angels. All right, I'm kidding. Jeez. That movie would be acceptable if the first one didn't exist. Sincerely. Because it's just the same goddamn movie. You know what? Actually, I want to mention two things about that film. I think it's really well directed by Tim Pope, The Cure's longtime videographer. By that I mean he made all of their music videos, not that he followed them around with a video camera. He made a brilliant choice in that film, which is he made it a world without a moon. That entire film basically takes place at night, and it's all sodium arc lamps creating artificial moonlight. I love it. The other thing is Iggy Pop is in the film. That's because scheduling prevented him from starring in the first Crow. He was supposed to be Fun Boy. That's the part Michael Massey played. It was that character's gun that fatally wounded Brandon Lee. In another universe, Iggy Pop killed Brandon Lee. Wait, that was 2, so actually I have 3 things I want to mention. I almost laughed like the count there. Not going to do that. Okay. This film also has some fucking awesome model work, particularly the cityscape. In the opening scene, the Crow, it's the Crow's point of view. It flies past a Jesus Save sign where a clutch of the neon letters are burned out, so it reads, Save Us. Look, maybe I'm easily impressed, but I thought that was super fucking cool to have an entire city pleading via a misappropriated religious ad. It foretold a level of greatness that the rest of the film could not live up to. But wait, you know what? There are more sequels. No, there aren't. How about that TV show? What the fuck are you talking about? To date, in my opinion, there have only been 2 other cinematic incarnations of The Crow, City of Angels and the current remake. Once again, this is The Crow.
What's the first thing you liked about me?
I thought that you were quite brilliantly broken.
You feel like my person?
You feel like my person.
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
Julie! Julie! Please don't do this!
When someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest. Until you put the wrong things right. You were given the power of a god. But you're running out of time to save her.
I'm gonna kill every single one of them.
And killed you.
Yeah, you did.
We have a problem. He came for us.
First impulse. Anger. It's not anger. It's love.
Look at what you've become. You know that love promises only pain. You have no idea what hell awaits you.
No, I do.
Remember at the start of the program when I was telling you all about the original comic and how the film that we know and love differs so wildly from it? It's not as severe as the differences between The Thing from Another World and Who Goes There, the short story that it's based on. And I'm not saying that this Crow remake is an analog for John Carpenter's The Thing as far as quality. I bring the whole thing up because I'm actually talking about fan bases. Maybe I should just check out from social media because fans of The Crow seem to be acting just like the Mad Max fan base, just like the Star Wars fan base, just like well, no one's as horrible as the Snyder fan base. So at least there's a hierarchy to all this awful. To see Crow fans so vocally derisive of something they haven't seen when there's a Crow movie out there starring Edward Furlong is very disappointing. And as far as remakes go, this movie might not be the thing, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are lots of problems, but then there's also a lot to recommend it. First and foremost being the relationship between Eric and Shelley. For one thing, there is a relationship between Eric and Shelley. The first act of the film has plenty of intrigue, but it's less interested in the supernatural, and it's more interested in these two characters finding each other. And it's lovely. The two leads, I mentioned Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård as Eric, and British singer-actress F.K.A. Twigs is Shelley, luminous and just as fucked up as Eric. Oh, they're not happy-go-lucky kids in this one. Shelley is involved in all sorts of nefarious dealings with some bad folk and finds herself in a co-ed correctional facility where she meets Eric. They break out and have a pretty phenomenal romance on the run, but this is The Crow, so that ain't gonna last. The film follows the same structure as the comic, and the original film for that matter. Eric is returned from the dead with a crow to guide him, and he cannot die. That is his only power. He's self-healing, which, by the way, looks astonishingly good. The effects overall are used sparingly, but when they do, they pack a punch. Speaking of punches, this Eric doesn't come back a kung fu master. He's just a guy. And the fights start out stumbling and awkward. They get a little more nuanced by the end. No, actually, they're not nuanced. He becomes a better fighter by the end. The fights do not become nuanced at all. They maintain a level of brutality that echoes the book in ways the first film only hinted at. I'm serious. A couple of times, I actually looked away. An aging gorehound like myself. Well, you can be a gorehound, but that'd have to be your official designation. You wouldn't be a pug anymore. All right, you think about it. This is The Crow that New Line Cinema would have made in 1994. They did try to buy it outright from James O'Barr, but would have cut him out completely, so that's why he went with Jeff Most and John Shirley. And had this been made in 1994, we would be talking about it right now as if it were a classic. But it's 30 years later. And while I don't feel right comparing the two films, the lingering ghosts of the first film's villains cannot be banished. The villains in this film are completely serviceable. There's nothing wrong with them. They're very well acted. And they're perfectly suited for this very real-world take on The Crow. The problem is, even the comic book doesn't feature a real Detroit. That's fantasy Detroit, just like it was in the first film. Just like L.A. was a nocturnal nightmare in City of Angels. All three had tons of character. This film takes place in nondescript major American city. I couldn't tell you if there was a coast involved or mountains, prairies. I have no idea. It shouldn't matter, but it does. Because like I said, that first act is so endearing. I love these two kids. I'm rooting for them. I'm shattered when they're murdered. The rest of the film is fine. In fact, there are elements at play here that are superior to any iteration of the character so far, but those would be spoilers, and we shall not spoil, lest the Crow showed up, or the Skull Cowboy. That's a deep dive character. But in summation for that, I just want to say, fuck all the haters, and fuck all the bad reviews. I was dismayed by the trailers for this film just like you. It's because the setting seems so contemporary. Trust me, this is a fucking good movie, and it tells a complete story, and I dig it. I'm not suggesting you spend any money. No. Don't even rush. I'm just saying, sooner or later, there's going to be a whole lot of, hey, this wasn't so bad, all over social media. You mark my words. The Crow. What do you think, baby? We did it again. We wrapped it up. We wrapped this week up in a bow. A long, dark fishnet bow. Black paper with black writing. All right, enough of the gothiness. Thank you once again, Midnight viewers, for joining us here at Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. You want to tune in this coming Friday? We have Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast. We're taking a look at the next 2 episodes of Tales from the Dark Side. Until then, where can people find you, Ripley? Don't stare at me. I'm just playing. You can find her here. You can find me here. And you can find me at weirdingwaymedia.com. And you can also find us at patreon.com/Father Malone. If you want to support the show, get you episodes early and commercial free and some bonus episodes and such and such. Until next time, I'm going to leave you with a line from the first filmed iteration of The Crow.
I know you. I knew you. I knew you. But you ain't you. You can't be you. We put you through the window. There ain't no coming back. This is the really real world. There ain't no coming back. We killed your dad. There ain't no coming back. There ain't no coming back. There ain't no coming back. A bastard devil stood and felt how awful goodness is. You felt how awful goodness is. You felt...
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.